Please go ahead.
Okay, good morning once again, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is the Nigerian Student Society President's Forum event. And today we've got a special guest in our midst who would be speaking to us on the Global Talent Visa, the research route. But before we start the session properly, here we usually start our events with um, opening prayers, and I'm just going to ask someone to please give us the opening prayer. Um, can I ask if you are able to speak? Can I ask Mr. Adeolu Adeleye, if you are able to speak? Can you please give us the opening prayer, sir? Thank you very much. Okay, I don't know.
Maybe Mary Ojo. Mary Jo came on screen now.
Okay. I can see Adeleye too. His video is even on, but anyways, maybe there's a bit of challenge with network there. Okay, so Mary Ojo, can you please give us an opening prayer? Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm a Christian. Does that
That's
count?
fine. That's fine. You've been
Okay.
nominated, so you pray your way.
All right. So, dear Father and God, we thank you for today. Thank you for another learning session. Thank you for another opportunity to transform our lives. And we pray that even as we are gathered here, you will help us to learn, you will help us to know, you will help us to do, you will help us to act upon them. We pray that in our daily pursuits for better lives, for better opportunities, that there are open doors our way, that we are not denied. Um, we pray for everyone that has joined, everyone that's coming to join, that you, Lord, you open the eyes of our understanding. The speakers, you help them. The organizers, you bless them. And everyone involved in this, we will live with the blessings of God together. For in Jesus' name I've prayed. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you so very much for that, Mary. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Um, And so, without further ado, I'm just going to quickly call Ambassador Andrew, who is the president of the NSSPF, to give us a word or two before I introduce our guest speaker.
Oh, thank you, Madam David. Good morning, everyone. Once again, we are welcome to the program. She already said who we are, NSSPF, which means Nigerian Student Society President Forum. It's a forum of all the presidents from all the universities. NSS is Nigerian Student Society in every university across the UK that has Nigerian society in there. So we come together to work as one. And one of the things that we are working towards, as I was telling my brother here, there are two major issues that we face in the country. One is the issue of finance that makes people to take shift from morning to night. And the other issue is why you are here, the visa. And this time around, this program is on that visa. Many a time we focus on one route and we want to see, rather than just focusing on the one route, how can we have alternatives that are available? So the purpose of that alternative is what someone who has gone through that alternative and has achieved it and is excelling in that, and then even transform to something else in the country to come and share his experience so we can learn. And fortunately, he has even taken up a coaching in line in that area. So he's not just someone who's experienced, he's also an expert. in that area. So I think we are blessed to have you in our midst, and I hope we can pick a thing or two to. And I love the prayer that Mary just said now that we will learn and we'll put it into use, which is very important, and God will help us through that. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, boss. So, I'm just going to quickly introduce our speaker for today. Our speaker for today is Oladapo, Mr. Oladapo Folare. He's a researcher, a plant pathologist, a seed certification expert. He's a published author, speaker, singer, and mentor. He was a recipient of the UK Global Talent Visa, and he's a coach as well. So, if you need coaching, as to how to go on, I'm sure he's going to even discuss a lot of them in this session. You can always contact him. So he helps talented researchers to increase their chances of getting the endorsements that they need for the UK Global Talent Visa in the research and academia part of it. He has received professional and personal training from different institutions across Africa, America, Asia, and Europe. He's also a recipient of several research and conference grants, as well as different other projects that he's collaborated with other scientists, researchers, and all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage with me, Mr. Oladapo Folare. Thank you very much for joining us today, sir.
Thank you, Debs. And I want to say thank you very much to Andrew as well and everyone who's involved with this for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to share my experience with everyone else who's on this call. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm just going to hand over, the mic essentially to you so that
Okay.
I don't know, would you like to share? Do you want to share your screen? Have you prepared something? If not, that's fine as well. It's just, I'm sure Ambassador Andre already spoke to you about, you know, what is expected, or what a lot of people would be expecting today. So yeah, I'm just going to, give you the mic so that you can do your thing.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have a presentation, but I'll just be speaking to everyone. So yeah. So thank you very much once again. So my journey, I would say, started as far back as 2003. So when I say my journey, I mean my academic journey. You know, uh, funny enough, I'm an agriculture, graduate or expert as the case may be, but I didn't go into university to to study that at first. I would say, I guess sometimes, God has a plan for you, you have another plan for yourself, and somewhere you probably align with God's plan. So I finished my undergrad 2010. It took quite a bit of time though, and then I started working. Usually with Nigeria, we all know you go for the compulsory youth service, and then after that, I began working. But I would say I began working during my youth service in 2011 because along the line ended up I left the organization after my youth service, but then I went back there, and that was where I worked up until I came to the UK. So I used to be a staff of the National Agricultural Seeds Council in Nigeria. It's the government agency in charge of seed certification in Nigeria. So when I say seed, I mean agricultural seeds. So, and then by training, my undergrad, I studied uh, crop protection, and I majored in plant virology. So, like, a plant doctor, as for people that might probably not understand that deeply. So, I started working 20, so my career started in 2011. So from working with the agency, I left after my youth service, worked with DHL for a while, and then I went back to working with the government agency as well. And I worked with the agency up until 2021. But then in 2018, I decided to um, do a master's. So I did a master's in which I started in 2018, a master's in crop protection as well, and I also still majored in plant virology. And I finished that. Officially, I finished that. I graduated in 2021, but in the real sense of it, my lab work, everything was done by 2019. And we all know the Nigerian situation. So I didn't graduate until 2021, even though I was not even in Nigeria by then. But then uh, what happened also was COVID happened in between. I would say, yes, means a lot of things to many people. I would say, in a way, COVID was probably a blessing to me because 2020 was when my publication journey started, was when my writing journey started. And I would also say I've been blessed to have good supervisors in my academic journey. So it started by everyone is on lockdown. I was still working, uh, sometimes in person, sometimes online, because the agriculture sector was deemed as, essential. So I was also still working at that point in time. But I got a call from my supervisor, and she just asked me out of nowhere, would I like to publish or write? And I'm like, so that time it's like when, I don't know, for some of you who are not computer experts, you see someone who is writing a code or writing Python. You know how Python looks to you like magic. What's this person doing? Even though I was reading articles, but finding myself writing those articles, was, looked like magic to me. And she said, "Oh, don't worry, it's not magic. I would send you a couple of my publications, my articles. You just read them, use them as a template, as a guide, start writing." So she said, start writing your topic, coin something out of your dissertation topic, and then start writing something. When you write to an extent, send it to me. I would review it and send back to you. And that was our one, two, three. I think right now I have 6 published papers. And in between that as well, I'm a member of the Nigerian Society for Plant Protection. There was a national conference coming up, and then she said, I think you should present your dissertation. That again looked like magic to me because I know you have posters. How do you do those? Same thing, don't worry. Sent me the poster she's done in the past. I used that as a guide, as a template. And guess what? My presentation was adjudged the best presentation at that conference. So all these, I would say, like I mentioned earlier, were blessings for me. And the fact that my master's program was stretched more than the ideal period it was supposed to be because of COVID and because of Nigeria, 2018 up until 2021. So what I did was, if you permit me to use the word milk, my project, my dissertation. So what I did was I would and also personally I'm someone who is big on self-development. I'm big on doing extras apart from what I'm doing. That also helped me in my profession as well. So what I would do was to apply for grants, conferences, and then as well, I started my PhD hunting in 2019 because I was looking for PhDs targeting the US, the UK, and China, those 3 major countries. But then the PhD did not come through, but some of the application for grants came through. I had a couple of grants in the UK, I had a couple of grants from the US as well. And this enabled me to travel and then also um, network with, experts within my field in these different parts of the world. And as well, while I was also working, I would do extra things apart from, what I was asked to do. So I was, part of my duty was policy, the seat into the seat certification area. I was involved in policy making. I was partly working in the lab because I trained as a plant biologist. So I was working in the lab, and also I was a seat certification a person as well. I was a certification expert. So I was, a bit of everything. So, and in 2020, so COVID 2020, I came to the UK just before the lockdown in the UK started in 2020. I came for about, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, and then I went back to Nigeria. And so after that, I had the opportunity to, I think Andrew was speaking to me about Cambridge. I had the opportunity of, visiting Cambridge then as well, and, London, Cambridge, and some other parts. So yeah, when I went back to Nigeria, I said, okay, because I'd been PhD hunting with responses, but I couldn't get a uh, funded PhD program. For obvious reasons, sometimes, COVID happened. There was a lot of issues with fundings. But then what kept me going was I would get professors would respond to my emails. I think one or two even called me back and said, "Oh, sorry, I don't have funding, but they signposted me to other people. You can get in touch with this person." So that in itself was motivating me, right? So when I in 2020 visited UK, went back to Nigeria, and I thought to myself, okay, maybe if I come into the UK, that would obviously make me closer to the PI, the professors, and probably I can get a PhD faster that way. And that thought was also in line with the fact that I guess I can't remember exactly, probably during lockdown, or after lockdown was when the post-study was reintroduced in the UK. Then you have the 2 years for masters, you have the 3 years for PhD. So I thought, okay, I would let me go to the UK do a master's, and then at least if I don't get a PhD while doing my 1 year master's, I have 2 years to still hunt for a PhD, right? And then for me, because I'd worked in the lab, my undergrad, predominant in the lab, my first master's predominant in the lab. So I wanted to study still in my line, which is crop protection, plant pathology, but then I didn't want to work in the laboratory this time around. So what I did was to Google the best university in agriculture in the UK, and that obviously that was University of Reading. I think then they were number one in the UK and number six globally. They probably still retain, that record, probably number two or number one in the UK presently as well. So I did that, but then I looked at, okay, I saw some of the courses they offered, and I wanted to understand the social science part of my background, which is agriculture. So what I did was to apply for a master's in food security and development. But then I was very intentional. I told myself my research was gonna be in plant pathology. But then so I researched, looked up the supervisors, the professors in the department, and I saw one person whom I think attracted me because this person was into the modeling and the machine learning side of crop protection and plant pathology and things like that. So I had that in mind already. Right. So I applied to the university, I was accepted, and then I was sent my acceptance letter, and I was preparing to come to the UK. And along that line, during that period was when I came across the global talent visa. And I think it became popular then because it used to be, I think before then it used to be like an exceptional talent visa only for exceptional talents. Like right now you have two categories. You can either be an exceptional promise or an exceptional talent. But before then they just called it exceptional talent. But then I guess because of COVID, because of Brexit, they were trying to open it, make it wider. So they made it into two categories. And then I read about it, and I instantly told myself, this was me. I read about the requirements, what it takes, and I just told myself this was me. Now, it sounded funny to some people because if you look at the requirements for the global talent visa under the research and academia, it states clearly, there's a line that states clearly that you must have a PhD. But then there's a caveat that says, I think it's probably in bracket or so, or a research equivalent to a PhD. And I told myself, I told myself, how many PhD students have, I think then I had 5 publications. I thought, how many, 5 or 6 publications? I can't remember exactly. How many students even have 2, 3 publications? Now, not to say 5 publications, right? How many PhD students have gotten the grants I've gotten? Apart from, I know in this part of the world, you usually and embark on a funded PhD program. But we all know in Nigeria, the situation, most people, do their PhD programs out of pocket. So I told myself things that I'm like, yeah, I'm going to make a case for myself. But I could have gone in for the visa then. But what I told myself was, okay, fine, since I got an admission already, my plan was to still, continue within my line. To make my case stronger, by the time I do my research project, I would also be speaking to my supervisors and telling them my plans so that they can also give me letters to enhance my application. So this was my plan. I shared with my family, shared with few people, two or three people that knew about my plans. Some of them doubted, because obviously at that point the global talent visa was very, 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 probably now it's probably just very, very, but then it was very, 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 or only popular with the tech people. That's why so many times you see people call it technician visa, which I try to always debunk every time I have the opportunity to speak. That no, it is not a tech visa; it's a global talent visa. It's only that the people within the tech ecosystem are very familiar with it. So, because even when I got it, a lot of people would call and say, "I never knew you were into tech. When did you? I know you studied agriculture, so where did you venture into tech?" And I'm telling, no, I didn't get it under the tech route. So I came to the UK with my family. And like I tell people, I think at the beginning of I say sometimes God has a plan and then you have another plan, right? I It's funny because I never searched for a job throughout my 1 year in the UK throughout my master's program. Maybe the only job I didn't even search, I would say I applied to was, you come, you have a temporary job to fulfill your 20 hours working, and I was doing that on campus. I would say probably that was the only job application I did. I never applied to one job, but applied to all the PhD programs, if not all. It, Let me try to be modest, maybe almost all, if not all, but I think it was all the PhD programs related to agriculture, biology, crop protection, within all the PhD programs, the doctoral training program, I applied to every one of them. But something, even though I didn't get any, but something changed. I told you I was PhD hunting from like 2019 Nigeria. When I came here, applied to everything, I got interviewed for more than half of them. Probably I did maybe over 9 applications and then got interviews for about 4 or 5, over 5 of them, right? But there was a challenge because in the UK, the PhD programs are funded by the UKRI, which is UK Research and Innovation, which is the main body that funds PhD programs. And then there's I think it was 20%, it's probably now 30% funding that's only available to international students, meaning students from Africa, Europe, every part of the world except the UK. So it's always extremely competitive. And why, sometimes I get interviewed for a program, they tell me I'm not selected. You see the PhD the topic or whatever, the one you apply to being re-advertised again. And then you see, oh, they want a home student, right? Sometimes I'm on waiting list. I think I was on waiting list for about 2 or 3 of them. And I'm calling them, emailing them. And I think one of them even told me, you know what? Uh, our advice, you probably just apply to the next one because, you're on the waiting list. Maybe except somebody drops off is because you're an international student and we're recruiting mostly home students, blah, blah, blah. So I did this, consistently for 1 year. But something also beautiful happened. The global talent visa has so many routes, which I'll probably mention some of them later, but I got it through the peer review route. And the peer review route requires that you have a letter from an eminent person in your field in the UK. Now, while I was working in Nigeria, my office, there were so many projects I was part of. One of the projects was it was a project that had to do with cassava viruses. And then there was a UK institution that was collaborating with my office. And because personally, I'm someone who keeps in touch, I like to network, I would keep in touch with the main person that was in charge. So there was a representative, the main representative, which was the focal point person for the institution in the UK. So even after even after the institution, you know, was done with the first phase of the project, I will still keep in touch with the key person, the focal person. So I touched down in the UK September 2021. One of the first people I made contact with was this person, telling him I'm in the UK, blah blah blah. And I wasn't shy about my plans. I told him straight. at the end of my program, which is going to finish this time of the year, this time next year, I have this plan. There's this visa in the UK, and I need a letter. I hope I can, if you don't mind, I would like to get the letter from you. And say, fine, when you're ready, just let me know. As God would have it, January the next year, which is 2022, there's usually an annual agricultural conference held in the University of School of Agriculture. I see the poster and I see this person was invited as one of the panelists. I'm like, wow. And then I go to the event, I see him, he was very happy to see me. And there again, I reiterated what I discussed with him on the phone. This was my plan. And same thing, he said, when you're ready, don't worry. Also, while I was working in Nigeria, I was part of this program called Connected. It was more like a project set up for to look at plant viruses, that are um, it's a plant virus network sort of, but the focus was on African researchers. So I was also part of this body, and I was I was a vibrant member, very active member. Gotten a couple of grants from this body as well for different research programs and fundings and trainings and things like that. So when I also got in, I made contact with these people to tell them I changed location. I was in the UK, so they were also happy to hear about that. And then they also even connected me with, one or two Nigerians who are also in the UK. And there and there as well, I told them, oh, I'm in the UK. This is my plan down the line. And same thing they said, when you're ready, let us know. So 1 year I was PhD hunting, but then I had my plan. Even though I said I wanted to do a PhD, I told myself I was going to do a PhD on a global talent visa, not on a student visa. I was very clear about my goals, what I wanted. I know, I remember my wife used to, probably at corner, she would be like, "Ah, are you sure about this thing?" Because I scouted the internet and I did not find one. Like I'm very meticulous about, I'm very particular about what I'm saying now. Like I did not find one video, one material that speaks to research and academia in 2021. There was nothing. Now we have so many videos. Now I've done a couple of interviews talking about this. Then there was nothing. The only things I found was just the tech, 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 tech. Right. So a lot of people, even like a very good friend of mine, who was a very, very good friend, very supportive when we moved to the UK. When I told him, he was also doubting, was telling me, are you sure? Would you not rather just try out some other, routes for you to have your stay in the UK? I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is my plan. Don't worry, when I do it, you would see and I will let you know. It's funny because after I got it, he even introduced me a couple of people to say, okay, what, just speak to him. He has done it. He can help you. So yeah, I was doing all this, but then September came. I didn't have a funded PhD program, though I had a PhD admission from the University of Reading, but they were telling me to pay out of pocket and was just going to give me very few uh, amount in discount. So what I did was I deferred that admission, but then because I have a family, so I had to keep on working. So that was the only time I decided to apply for a job. And then what I did was to research jobs, got sort of job, applied to it. And that's why, where I work now, that's how I got the job. So, so by then, before I finished in September, I was, gathering my documents. But because I know I fit the requirements, I know I'm eligible, I know I fit the person they want, but because I didn't find anything online, I needed someone to guide me. Okay, how do I put all of these things together? Right. So I got in touch with someone who helped me to, put everything that I say I have, everything that makes me talent, put together. One thing I found, which the Global Talent endorsement journey taught me, which I also tell people that now when I coach and mentor them, is it helps you to take stock of your life. Pretty much, that's the summary. It helps you take stock of your life. So even the smallest thing that you've probably done, you didn't pay much attention to, it helps you to see the importance of that thing. And that was what I discovered while on my journey, that, oh, guy, you've done a lot of things because I've done this, I've done this. Because then you take stock of everything you've done in your lifetime, and then you bring out the strongest things that can speak for you. So it's a lot of addition and subtraction. Okay, with this speak volume, okay, let me put this down. With this speak volume, let me put this down. Okay, this one, let me put it up. So it was more of that. So for me, I tell people it was easy for me And this is my own personal journey because I pretty much had everything, every single letter I needed. It was up to the point that I even had more letters than I would even need. And then I also use it to advise people do not burn bridges. So as much as in Nigeria, we all know for a master's program, you do your external defense, where you have a professor from outside university come to, be on the panel that oversees your master's dissertation defense. So I was even very close with the professor of blessed memory, now is late, who was my external examiner. The point where when I was in the UK, he was also in the UK on a fellowship, and I connected him to one of the directors in the institution, who was also one of the people that who was the eminent person that gave me my letter for my global talent visa. So I was in touch with them. Right now, I can tell you on my phone, I have my undergraduate. I graduated in 2010. I have my undergraduate supervisor's phone number. I have my first master's supervisor's phone number. My master's in the UK, I have his phone number. My external examiner in Nigeria, then, I had contact with him. My bosses in Nigeria, I was on the, on their in their good books as well because, I needed these people while I was applying for. So every single thing that I needed, I had it. I didn't have to think, or I didn't have to out around, or I had everything. It was only, okay, what will I use? Which one will I use? That was my situation. It was more of, okay, I have everything. Which one will I use? But that was my own experience, right? And then when the time was right, the plant virus network got in touch with them as well. The eminent person got in touch with him. So I had the support of the others people. And then I put in my application. And a few days, I think it was less than 5 days, I got my endorsement. The one that shocked me and shocked with my family was so because the global talent visa is in two stages. You apply for an endorsement first. When you get endorsed, then you apply for your visa. So except you have immigration issues, the second phase should be smooth. You should get your visa. So the second phase, after I got my endorsement, it was less than 24 hours. I got my visa in less than 24 hours because I applied about 3 p. Did my biometric about 3 p.m. And then before 2 p.m. or thereabout the next day, I got the email that my visa had been approved. So that was shocking to me because at that point I applied and then I was telling myself, did I make a mistake? Why didn't I apply for priority? Because that was a period with the Ukraine war started and there was a lot of backlog of visa applications, also with the work visas. So there were people applying for visas 3 months, 6 months that had not gotten response. So I applied and was like, I hope I've not made a mistake. Only for me to see the email, less than 24 hours. I was like, oh wow, thank you, Jesus. So yeah, so that was how I got my global talent visa and endorsement. So based off that, family and friends started getting in touch with me, started mentoring them, and then it started spreading, and I started coaching and mentoring much, much more people. And thank God, there's success stories. So that's my journey in a nutshell. And I tell people, it's always good to, I mentioned earlier, not burn bridges, keep in touch, network, because networking was also something that helped me. And one also big thing I would say is also be diligent in your work. I'm a believer, and there's a part in the Bible that says, "Yes, thou a man diligent in his work, it would not stand before ordinary men; it would stand, before kings." Right. So I would say the years of diligence finally paid out for me because I never knew anything about the global talent visa. Right. I wasn't my career, my academic journey wasn't me preparing for a visa called Global Talent for me to be a talent in that field. It was just me doing the normal thing I would do as Oladapo. The normal thing is you give me to do A, I would do AB as long as AB, helps the company or my employers, to be prominent and or to give them more opportunity to grow and things like that. So naturally, that's the person I was. So, but all this in spite of, right? Because doing all that, you would see colleagues who would not do that, or colleagues who would think, or people who would think you're doing too much, right? But then it was a matter of there was already something prepared for you, right? Because of all these things. So it was like reward for the hard work, I'd put into my work, put into my education before now. So, yeah, I would say pretty much that's my journey to the global talent visa. Thank you.
Wow, wow, what a phenomenal story. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Really, really appreciate that. And I mean a lot of lessons from that story. And I know that a lot of people on this call have, gotten one or two things just from this your story. I mean, I think one thing that actually struck me from it is that you mentioned that years of diligence actually paid off, and you mentioned how you don't just do the barest minimum. You try to put yourself into what you are doing and do it well. And I just wanted to reiterate it out to everybody. People just feel like, oh, how much are they paying me, and just do a shabby job. The truth of the matter is people are watching whether we like it or not. So the people know, even ourselves as we're on this call, we know people in our workplaces that are doing, the work well. We know people that are not doing the work well. And when it is time for maybe recommendation or whatever, we know the people that will be very comfortable to recommend for whatever it is that we want to recommend them for. So it's just to reiterate it to say that, we should actually, whatever we find as ants doing, we should do it very well. And I think that that's one thing that jumped out at me in your story. And also, you mentioned that you did not burn bridges. A lot of people would say, "Oh, Jackpa, let me just leave them for that country and to hell with whoever it is."
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you for mentioning that Jakwa. 'Cause I always like to tell people, like, person I don't like that word. I always try to tell people, even though it was a period where there was a mass movement of people out of, young people out of Nigeria, I
Yeah.
didn't leave Nigeria on Jakpa. I left Nigeria because I wanted a PhD, right? So it wasn't just because I wanted to Jakpa. I tried to say that as well. So
No, a lot of no, so a lot of people, just like you've mentioned, even though you didn't come during that era, but a lot of people, and I don't know, I would want to say 50% of the people on this call came through during that era where we call it japa. Oh, we just want to leave, maybe because we're fed up of the situation back home and all of that. And a lot of people would do that, and even sometimes when you read some things on social media, you're wondering that why would you even want to do that, because they will just tell you that they don't even care. Maybe they are resigning to they don't, some people will even tell you they didn't just show up to work. They should just keep their job and all of that. And these are some of the things that I just wanted to also reiterate here to say that it is, as much as maybe you don't even like the person you are working with, or you don't like your boss, I think respect is due to whom respect is due. At one point or the other, the person is your boss. Without them employing you to that job, you may not even have found something to do or to keep mind and body together and all of that. So, I mean, just to also reiterate that we should not burn bridges, because that
mm,
helps. You never know where it can be in 10 years' time, it can be 5 years' time, it can be even in 15 years' time, and it might not even be for you, it may be for your
mm,
siblings or even your child.
mm,
And for some one reason or the other, it's that person or the person that they know that would be able to sort that out for you. So
mm,
I mean, honestly, thank you, Mr. Oladapo, for sharing your story. I'm just going to quickly open up the floor for questions. So if
mm.
you would like to ask any question, please feel free to raise your hand so that we can take your question, or you can drop it in the chat box if you like.
Yeah, and Debs, permit me also to say another point that just came to my mind about, because also important
Okay.
about not burning bridges, because we it's also it's gonna also gonna help us to be better people, right? Because
Mhm.
that should be one of our goals, to be better people. So
Yeah.
while I was in the UK, while in Nigeria, I was working directly with the director general of my institution, right? I
Mm.
was part of the technical team. And then they had to come to the UK at some point, the director general and a couple of the directors, right? And then I knew about it. They got in touch with me. They were going to have a meeting with some collaborators in the UK. And then I took some time off work, went to meet them at this particular meeting with one of the collaborators, very major collaborator. And then I remember vividly it just came to my mind. You said sometimes, oh, you're probably not happy with how much they're paying you, but you're saying to, you don't want anything to do with them again, blah, blah, blah. That was my situation. I just, just based off that, right? And then I
Yeah.
go get into the meeting room, and everyone stands up. My director general stands up, my directors. I mean, we're all from Nigeria. These are older people, elderly people in their 50s, right? Or 60s even.
Yeah.
And then I was gonna greet the closest to me was one of the directors, and then the director general, who was like so seated far away at the center, says, "No, no, no, hold on," calls me, come, asks me to come, and I walk up to him, near him, and he pats my back and looks at me and smiles. I looked at the main person they were having a meeting with the collaborators. They were about three of them. Looks at the most senior person and looks at them and says, "This is one of my most important staff
Wow.
that left Nigeria, is now in the UK. It's after he left we knew his importance. I mean, they've always known my importance, but for
Yeah.
me, those that statement crowned all my years of work in Nigerian civil service. It
Wow.
was, for me, it was more than any naira could have earned as salary, right? So
Mm.
this was the boss saying this to an international collaborator, right? So, that was very important for me. But if I'd not been diligent, if I'd not given my all, if I, left on a bad note, that would not have happened. I probably wouldn't have been comfortable to go meet them as well. So,
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, just like you said, it is very important not to burn bridges. You never know. And this is just a good example of it. You never know. Imagine your boss recommending you. What else do you want? I mean, that's like one of the highest form of recommendation to, recommend you and give you that kind of feedback in front of international collaborators. So yeah, honestly, I think that it's something that a lot of us should take back and reevaluate ourselves and see how best we can make do with that. So, if you've got any question, could you please raise your hands to ask the question or put them in the chat box? People are prone to doubt and discussion. Okay, okay. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. I think you're the first person on my screen who has their hands raised up. Okay, so over to you now, Emmanuel. You can go ahead to ask your question.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, all right. Thank you so much. Thank you for this platform. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to hear more about global talent. And I want to thank the organizers. Thank you so much for this um, beautiful platform. And then the speaker, thank you so, so much. Actually, I've been following your work for a while. I've listened to, I think, two of your interviews now. So when I saw you on the flyer, I said, I know I'm going to come again and then listen to you. All right. So, um, my question, I have a couple of them because I'm also preparing for global talent, academia and research. All right. And, I have a couple of questions. Number one, I don't have a PhD. That's number one. Number two, I have never won any grant before, no grant. And, I came into the UK in 2023, and I have a couple of papers, not before I came into the UK, but when I came into the UK, then I started on the part of research. I'm into tech, accessibility, tech, and I did not necessarily fit into technician because I've never worked in a product-led company. So what's it called? My research has majorly been on accessibility tech and all of that. So my question is that do I have a chance? I tried tech once. I tried global talent once, and because uh, I've been doing tech a bit in Nigeria, but not product led. I tried it once, but I was rejected in tech. So, based on the performer they sent to me, I was able to use it, and then I think I got that from some experts. They told me, oh, don't even bother about it, just go for research. So since then, I've been preparing myself towards applying. So those two things, those caveats, I don't have a grant. I've never won a grant before in my life. And I'm also applying for PhD. When you mentioned the issue of PhD, and now it was 10. In fact, I'm facing something like that now. Attending interviews, and then they tell you get back and all of those funny things, you know. So um, I just want to hear from you. What are my chances? Do I have a chance, or I have to just look for how to get myself another visa in the UK instead of academia and research? I have a couple of papers on HTML digital library. I think like three, and then I've attended like three conferences so far. So I just want to know, just want to have an idea of if I have a chance, since I don't have any grant, do I just forget about it, or what do you think?
So to answer honestly to that, it's impossible. It's going to be impossible for me to say if someone is eligible or not for the peer review route of the global talent, is especially on a call like this. And that's why I also offer the mentorship coaching program I do. And usually people would book in a 1 hour session with me to have what I call a discovery call. And that's when we'd usually be able to say if this person eligible or not. But what I would say is, and before I come back to peer review route, there are like three other pathways to get the global talent to get endorsed for the global talent visa through the research and academia route. I don't know much about the tech route, Tech Nation. I don't know much about every other route. But when it comes to research and academia, the three other pathways. One of them is by having a fellowship from any research institution in the UK. It could be academia, it could be industry. If you have like a fellowship or a grant from them, which you've used to carry out a research project, you can get endorsed. And these pathways are even they call them the fast track routes because you get endorsement quickly and you don't need so much documentation, right? Another way is if you have like a job role within the university or research institution still, but then your role has to be there has to be some um, particular things you're doing, such as you're directing a project, research project, or you're supervising a research project. You have to be operating at this level. It's clearly stated on Royal Society or British Academy's website. If you have any of this role, you're not just a lecturer. It's not just a lecturing role. You have to have, you have to be directing a project or supervising a project. You have to be PI or something like that. Then you can also get endorsed. Another one, which most people do not know, which I wouldn't say is the easiest, but it could be difficult sometimes as well. But it's a pathway people don't pay attention to. So there's something called KTP, Knowledge Transfer, I think, Partnership. It's a program that's usually domiciled within universities. So it's like universities offering solution to industries through this KTP program. So what they do is it's usually a contracted role, usually for 2 years. So what they do is they identify the skills they need for a particular provide a particular project or provide a solution for to something. So they advertise these roles just like your normal job application, but it's not a direct employment university. It's with the KTP office. The KTP also has a website. If you Google it, you see it. So, for example, you can see a research biologist or machine learning expert or whatever. You apply to these roles, you go through the normal interview process. If you get selected or employed, on this KTP program, the role is eligible for a global talent endorsement, and it's also a fast track route. So, I usually advise people about all this as well. Then the one which I got mine on is obviously the peer review route, which is one that requires a lot of documentation and trying to convince the peer reviewers that you're actually a talent. So I would say from what you said, it would be difficult for me to say, yes, you're eligible for endorsement or not. I can only say that if I have a one-on-one personal session with you. But you can also explore these other routes I've mentioned, especially the KTP one. You can explore that, or you can decide to booking a session with me to have a better view of your history, career history, and as well academic history before I can say yes, okay, you're eligible now, or you need to prepare towards eligibility.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think I would give the mic for the KTP. I am applying for KTP already. I think one of your interviews you mentioned this time was where I got it,
Yeah.
and then I have gotten two interviews on KTP already. Um, and then I'm also handing out preparing for peer review rounds. So, because I know I may not really have too much of a chance there because of some of the things I mentioned earlier. So I'm preparing both, but maybe before the end of this
Sorry,
program.
Emmanuel. We may not have all the time in the world. These are personal issue, and he has encouraged you to book a time with him so he can assess your personal journey. This is not to stop you from talking, but um, if it is a personal thing, then you can always engage him to have that personal discussion with him so he can assess your personal journey. Thank you so much. Um, Madam Debbie, or do we just call on Princess whose hand is up?
Yes, please. Princess can go ahead.
Hello, everyone.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, can
Go
I go
ahead,
on?
Princess. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I have a question. So, while the speaker was talking, he made mention of the fact that he wanted to do a PhD with a global talent visa. So my question is, if you're already on your PhD journey with a student visa, is there a way you can convert maybe your second or third year to a global talent visa while still on the PhD?
Sorry, can you repeat? I say where you can convert.
So you said you could do your PhD with a global talent visa. So is
Yes.
there you can apply for the global talent visa while still on your student visa, and then when you get it, convert?
Okay,
Or
so
you
I
have
think
till the
when
end?
I came to the UK, the rules had not started changing because I think it was after I came, just after COVID, then there was a mass influx of people. So that made them to start changing so many rules. I know the technicians started changing the rules. And then there was this rule about if you're on a student visa now, you need to complete your studentship. Even if like if you're on a master's student, for you to switch visas, you need to complete your master's. When I came in, it wasn't that way. But now you need to complete your master's. That's if you're eligible and you still want to transition to global time, you need to finish your master's because the school is sponsoring you, and then you need to fulfill that obligation with them. Excuse me. So, and as well, now there's also an additional rule that says if you're having your PhD, you need to have completed 2 years of a PhD. So, for example, you're on your PhD, you want to apply for the Global Talent Visa, you need to have at least completed 2 years of your PhD program before you can think of applying for the Global Talent Visa. But when I came to the UK, the rule was not the rule for the masters, completion of your masters wasn't like that. But even though my own plan was to finish my program and start a PhD, my plan was, in between my program, get my or finish my program, get my global talent visa with a few because you would, obviously you had some few months left before you can apply for another status in the UK. So I was going to apply for global talent visa, and hoping that I would have gotten a PhD by then. So yeah, that was my own plan. But now you have to finish your masters before you can transition to another visa.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that question. I'm just going to take a few from the chat box. I know that Otonye also has a question she would like to ask, but before that, I would like to quickly take a few questions from the chat box. So I've got Ogabi Adewale. He says, what are other benefits of the visa apart from business ILR routes? Like what major door does it open? Is there provision to submit more than one reference?
Okay, so for the research and academia route, which I can speak to very well, as a researcher, the best status you can have in the UK, apart from being a permanent resident, is the global talent visa. Why? Because you are not tied to any institution or any company. You can carry out the research as an independent researcher. You can carry out the research in collaboration with institutions, with companies. You can decide to be an employee and whatever. But in as much as whatever you're doing definitely has to be within the field you were endorsed for. So, for example, I was endorsed as a plant scientist, right? I cannot say I become an architect, and probably I'm doing very well in architect, in space. I can't do that. They wouldn't approve my ILR. I can't say I went into HR. No, whatever research you have to be doing has to be within your field. So it allows you that flexibility. And one other beauty about if you're endorsed by Royal Society or UKRI under the research and academia route is you can carry out your research in any part of the world. And there's an immigration rule that states that you have to have lived in the UK you have to not have been out of the UK for 180 days before you can apply for ILR. That rule doesn't apply to you. As long as you cannot research within your field, in any part of the world, that counts for you. So those are part of the plus that you get by getting endorsed under the research and academia route. And I would say, those are the advantages and opportunities. Especially the fact that if you're on a skilled worker, definitely you're tied to your employer. You have to probably look for another employer who's ready to be able to sponsor you for you to, change jobs and things like that. But with the global talent visa, you're not. Another thing, you can decide to run your own company. So I'm a plant scientist. I can decide to start a plant breeding company on my own. You know, there's no rule that says I can't. I can't do that. That can be my primary source of income, right? So it allows you the flexibility. The only like that is the best visa in the UK you can have as a researcher.
Thank you so much for that response. I'm just going to quickly go to the next question. Can the visa be applied without a grant? That's from Oluwabumi. And she says, I do not have UK work experience in the lab. I have not published any paper. Can an undergraduate student apply?
I would say my answer is also goes back to my answer to the first. Is it the first person? In terms of I can't say on this call if one is eligible or not. I can only give advice on the other routes you can check out, and also if you're thinking about the peer review routes, you can have a one-on-one session with me. But because I've gotten this question somewhere else before, someone will ask as an undergrad. The answer is that it is not stated anywhere that you cannot get as an undergrad. What it states is you have to have a PhD research equivalent, right? But if you look at it technically, someone who's doing an undergrad, how much of research experience or research projects would you have done before now for you to be an eminent person or a talent in your field? Except the other thing is, except maybe you've been into research before you probably got admission to study your BSc undergraduate. Because I've heard of someone who doesn't have an undergrad because he didn't complete his undergrad, right? But he got a global talent visa. He's in the tech space, but it's not like he's at that level of straight from secondary school. He didn't complete his undergrad and he applied. No, he didn't complete undergrad, but then he's been into the tech startup space for a couple of years. So because it's not, if you look at it, it's not really by your certificate. It's more about your research work when we talk about research and academia. So which it's possible for you to do even without having a certificate. That's the truth. But from where we're coming from, how many people are able to do that? So, and then you don't need to, it's part of something I posted some few weeks back. You don't need to have a UK experience like the only experience I had tied to the UK before I got mine was my master's research, because my research project focused on the UK. It was looking at an issue within the crop protection space in the UK. So that was the only thing that ties me. Then apart from, because even the collaborations I said was just collaboration with the institution. It wasn't like the work was for the UK. The work was for Nigeria, but the collaboration was with the UK institute. So I would say you can have experience lab work in your home country, wherever you're from. You don't necessarily have to have like lab work experience in the UK. It could be from anywhere.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. I think that's all the questions that I've got from the chat. A couple of them were asking how they could connect, and I've dropped the link to your website. Ambassador Andrew has also dropped your LinkedIn link, so that's fine. So I'm just going to quickly go to Otonye. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. You have the floor now to ask your question, after which we'll come to Miriam. I'm hoping that's a Princess legacy, and that's a legacy and from Princess.
Hello, good afternoon, Mr. Oladapo. I just want to ask, from your experience, what's the feasibility of publishing a research paper solo with no supervision or no institutional affiliation? Thank you.
So it depends on what you publishing. So even with publishing with regards to if you want to submit for Global Talent, don't forget that publishing is not only journal publication. So, because from my experience, there are publications which I've been part of, or some I know people have been part of, or colleagues, which is, so for example, you get a funding from one of the funders, say Gates Foundation or someone, and then you do a research project for them, or you work on research for them. They necessarily might not publish it in a journal, but then they probably might publish it in like a Gates on the Gates Foundation website, sometimes even the United Nations or FAO website, because I've seen even people like that. So publications necessarily doesn't only mean academic or journal publications, right? It could be something it's only that academic publications are always peer reviewed, right? But then as well, there are also some peer reviewed publications that might not end up in academic journals. You can also publish in any of the probably eminent media. It could be online, it could be paper. It's more about the quality and impact of the work you've done. So you can decide there are so many funders in the UK that can, fund you as an independent researcher, Wellcome Trust, whatever. I think sometimes it might be the amount you want to get might determine if it's an amount they only give to independent researchers, or if it's an amount where you have to have collaborators or people working with you. So I would say, but then again, it speaks more volume if the work you're working on, the project you're working on, is in collaboration with others. It could be multidisciplinary, it could be same discipline, but it adds more value to it. It means that there's different perspective to that research project rather than just one point of view. So yeah, that would be my contribution to that. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question.
Thank you. It kind of did to some extent. Thank you very much.
Not the full extent, some extent.
It was helpful. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Miriam, you've got the mic.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Mr. Oladapo. My name is Mariam, and I'm a second-year PhD researcher. And this global talent visa has been very much in my plan. So this session is like speaking very directly to me right now. So thank you for that, and thank you for the opportunity. So I've done a little bit of reading as well, to do a bit of research. And from what you said when you were speaking, you said, yeah, this visa is in 2 stages, the process, the endorsement phase. I want to ask you firstly, like, how was the experience how was your own personal experience for getting your endorsement first? You mentioned Royal Society, right? So I want to hear from you, like you've gone through it. How was your experience? How long did it take? And I know you talk about your journey and how you've planned for it, networking, speaking to people, going to where you would find value, all of those things. But yeah, the experience getting that endorsement itself, and maybe anything like the hardest part. And the second question is about flexibility. Okay, so now I'm planning for the visa, but I also want to ask, okay, so after getting the visa, how was life being after? You said you got it for your PhD, right? Are you done with your PhD now? Are you still on, or is it how was life being after? What is the after the visa, what is I mean, what is going to be the next thing? Because I'm talking from the parts that I'm an international student now. So I'm looking at, okay, if I do it, what's going to be the next? It's not just going to be automatic. What's it called next thing? I don't know, but yeah, you've gone through that process. So I'm asking you, and moving from like research to what if I decide to like say I want to move from research to industry. Industry still be in my field, still doing things in my field, but like industry specific, like could still be like doing research or I don't know. But I'm just thinking out loud. And I'm just thinking like long term. So I don't know if that kind of like transitioning would affect like one status to settlement in the long run. Yeah,
Okay.
that's my question. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I hope I remember your questions. Please
I
bring me
can.
back if I don't remember. So
Yes,
the
sure.
first one, I would say I mentioned a bit of the first one, but let me say for your first question, so this is not pride. This
Okay.
is my story. There was no hard part for me. Every single thing I needed, I had. It was just how to put it. And I got in touch with someone that helped me, put everything. So honest answer, there was no hard part for me, right?
Okay.
But then my experience was I knew what I wanted, what I was gonna do, what I needed to do. So it was just when I had everything together, I waited till I finished because I needed to also add my master's in the UK's research work to it, just to also boost my portfolio. And then, right, a supervisor in the UK who lives and works in the UK would also be very recognized. So if he's writing that this is what this person has done, and this is the impact of what he has done. Right. That was the only reason why I waited to that point because I already had people in the UK who were very senior. I could get endorsements or letters from. Right. So my that was my experience, and applying was easy. I applied. It didn't take up to a week before I got my endorsement back. And like I mentioned earlier, my visa was less than 24 hours because it's in two phases. You apply for endorsement first phase, it comes out positive, then you put in your application of visa, right? So the first one was less than a week. I think the second, yeah, then the second was less than 24 hours. So that was my experience with Royal Society. Then, so I also saw something in the question, which I guess would address the other question I saw as well. So for me as well, just to also buttress the point that God had my path planned. I don't have a PhD. I still do not have a
Yeah.
PhD. So
Okay.
when I finished September, working on my application, never applied, looked for search for a job. Because I have a family, that was the only reason why I now decided to search for a job. So what I did was I was specific. I wasn't just going to randomly get a job. I searched for research jobs, and then I got the job I'm doing right now. Now, I told you my background is crop protection. So this is going to answer it. I was endorsed as a plant scientist in area of plant virology. Most of my projects were plant virology, were based on plant virology. But then core of my work in Nigeria was seed certification, agricultural seed certification. That was the space I was working. But I was also still into plant health, plant virology. I was working in a molecular laboratory at some point. I was working on plant virology projects. So that was because of my personality and the office I was helped me to be able to work on so many projects within my larger, broader field, which is plant sciences. So but then crop protection, there are three major areas in crop protection: the entomology, which is the insect side; it's pathology, which is the disease side, and you have weed, weed science, which is the weed side. For people who don't know, weed is, I'm Yoruba, I say koriko. Weed is a plant that you don't want on your field, right? So now, all my past experience was plant virology or plant pathology, or plant disease, as you would call it. But the job I got was in weed science, weed control. But the company itself is a crop protection company, which is what I studied. I studied crop protection, and one of the field in crop protection, plant disease. Now I'm working with a company that's a crop protection company, but I was functioning under the weed science part. Because when you apply for ILR, you're going to state to them, this is the field I worked in. I was endorsed as this person, and I function at this person. It has to correlate. For me, plant disease is crop protection. With science, which I'm presently working on, is crop protection. So it was not difficult for me. So I'm still within my field, within my space. But you cannot entirely go off tangent, off your field. No, it will not work. So I cannot say, for example, I'm a crop protection person and I get a job in HR and I decide to work with the HR and I'm doing well in HR. No, it won't work because you were endorsed. There's a reason why they endorsed you. You're supposed to be impactful in that field in the UK. They're not just dashing you or giving you a visa. The reason why they give you, they are giving you because they feel you can help to grow that field in the UK. That's why you issued that, and you've said you're a talent in that field, and they've seen that you're a talent in that. That's why you are given. So you cannot get endorsed, and then you decide to do something totally different. No, it will not work. And that's why also I tell people, it should not just be a means to an end. It should be who you are or who you want to be. You are probably exceptional before, and then you came to it, or you don't want to decide to say, you know what, I want to be exceptional in what I'm doing, and you need to continue in that way. Because if you're not something and you want to pretend to be something for a while, it will not have longevity. It won't last forever. Right. So yeah, that's that. I don't know if the answer to your question, there's another one I've not answered.
Yeah, it did. But so you didn't go through the PhD round again?
Yes. So because going back again, I have a family. So in the UK, when you are on a PhD program, you have an earning that is capped. It's standard. You can earn. I think they've increased it now, but then it was 19,000 something thousand per year, even though it's not taxed. I think now it's about 20,000, if I'm not wrong, or 20, probably 21 or 20,000. My work, I'm earning more. Even I'm paying tax, I'm earning more than that. So it would be like I'm downgrading in earnings. So that's the only reason why, personally, I would say now I've suspended my PhD dream. So I've personally have suspended it for now because of the difference in the earnings. Yeah.
All right. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Thank you so much for answering those questions for us. Thank you, Miriam, and to every other person that has asked
And
questions.
sorry, madam.
I lost the chat. Okay.
Sorry, Adewale put a question, and I think the
Oh,
answer
okay.
Oladapo gave now just answered him. Sorry, that means I gave a wrong answer. If he's asking whether if you are in one research space, you can work in another field, and I think what he just said now has answered it. That once you get the visa in a particular field, you should be able to continue in that field.
All right. Thank you very much for that. I lost the previous chat, but I think it was Oluwabumi asking if there's like a position in your organization for a biomedical person. I don't
My
know if you
advice
can
would
see.
be,
Okay.
okay, this person has probably seen where I work. My advice would be check the website of the company. There are always opportunities coming up at different times. So you might want to always check the website regularly, the careers page regularly, to see what
Okay.
opportunities are up. Yeah.
Yeah, I would also just advise, I mean, that she could also reach out to you because I'm aware that sometimes referrals actually also works. If maybe you refer her or something,
Yeah, sometimes.
while
Yeah,
she's filling
yeah.
the form, she can just put like that you referred her or something like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you very much for that. It's just because we've spent more than we should have. Okay, I think the last question, I can't see Princess Ant up anymore, so I'm just assuming that you've
He has
answered
answered it, yeah.
along the line. All right, thank you very much. And then I've got from Lovett who says, how about people that want to go through innovative routes?
I guess the person is talking about the innovator visa. I do not know about that,
Okay.
but what I know is the best visa you can have as an immigrant, as a researcher in the UK is the global talent visa. Because at least I know one friend who transitioned from the innovator visa to the UK to the global talent visa because the
Wow.
innovator visa has some requirements which sometimes might be difficult for startups or some people to meet up with. So they just rather, you know, move to the global talent visa and then give them flexibility to be able
Exactly.
to meet those goals as a
Yeah.
startup owner or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly, because it's a win-win. They can be on the global talent visa and still do their
You
business, their startup,
exactly.
whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. On behalf of the NSSPF, I want to thank you so much for the opportunity today. Thank you to everyone that has joined. Thank you, Mr. Oladapo Folare, for the opportunity to come speak with us. I'm sure a lot of persons have gained one or two things from here. I'm sure a lot of people would also be reaching out after this to see how best they can fall in line for that endorsement. So really, really appreciate you. I've got just one last question that says, what is the name and website of your company? If you could just please repeat that for everyone, because you've just mentioned that there is usually job opportunities, so they could just go to the website and have a look. So if you could just quickly um put that whether in the chat box or say it out loud, that would be fantastic. Wow.
Okay, so I work with Syngenta, which is a crop protection company. I've dropped in the chat as well.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much. So you could just put Syngenta on Google and it will bring out
Yeah.
their website for you, and then you can go on, have a look at the opportunities available and see where best or how best you fit in. Thank you so much. And I'm going to now hand over to Ambassador Andrew to round this off for us to close this session and enjoy our weekend.
We've been enjoying the weekend, so we continue to enjoy the weekend that started on a great note with our wonderful brother, Oladapo. Thank you so much. I really want to appreciate. On behalf of the NSSPF, we want to say a big thank you to you. And we know if we call you next time, you answered. Because even the first time, you did not even make it difficult. You just said yes without even questioning much. You just said yes, and that gives us the confidence that we are one big family and we'll continue to reach out to you. So if you have enjoyed our guest, please just drop it in the chat to say thank you to him, and or you share an emoji, a reaction box to just reaction tag to just appreciate him. Let's know how much you appreciate his talk, and so this will encourage him to always come next time. And as we have dropped on the chat, if you want to contact him, those are his contacts. And if you also want to contact us, we've dropped it on the chat. Lastly, he was saying something about research. I will drop a link on the chat right now. This is a link to a post made by someone in Nigeria who I've been working with in terms of research. Like he said, I don't just burn the bridge. I don't just avoid burning the bridge. I build bridges. So I've been working with someone who just had first degree alone, and he's just running his master in Nigeria, and we've been publishing together in global spaces. I'm even introducing the global conference I attended in the US last year. I'm even introducing it to him, and he has also been part of some of the conferences that we organize here. He has presented his ideas. So and lately also, I've been joining with undergraduates, even from Nigeria. And I've said it to us here as well. Publishing is not just for those in academics alone. And it's not something extraordinary out of this world. If you have an idea, even if it's about how to cook, you are a very good cook. That's a practical. And the learning in academics is just to teach you the theory, although they do also do practical, the theory, putting into words all those things that you have been doing. So you can liaise with someone to share the knowledge. This is what I've been doing in terms of cooking. This is what I've been doing in terms of carpentry. do whatever you are doing that God has given to you, whatever talent, you can put it into writing. But if you are not the type that likes writing, we have people you can collaborate with. Just reach out to us. We have people you can collaborate with. Put it into writing. Or you saw an issue that is going on, why some parents abandon or take their children to Nigeria rather than in the UK. These are ways to put out. Publishing is about putting your idea out. What you
Yeah.
think about what God is putting in your mind about what is going on. Or so we always encourage that whether you're undergraduates, I always tell people undergraduates in Nigeria that we made a mistake that we waited till after graduation before we start building CV. You can build CV even right from university. University provides so many conferences, so many things that you can be part of, and then also avenues to publish with people. All you just need is to learn how to read and write, and we already know that as students. So share your ideas with someone, and if it's not your strength to write, we can provide you with people who you collaborate with, and then you publish together. It goes into your portfolio, and these are not something extraordinary. These are not something. The extraordinary in this is when you are doing it too much, and then you look back, you look at your portfolio, you say, so I am the one that have done all this. It's you then see how much you've achieved. So please, we've heard from our guests that even if you don't have PhD, if you have equivalence, and you can start building the equivalence right now, and the sky will be the beginning for us all. So again, I want to appreciate our brother, and I'm sure he's already a member of the family, and we will always love to be in contact again. And then I want to get his assurance because he's a coach already. So I'll be working under his coaching. So we want to get his assurance that as a body, we will. I put something on the chat that's a coordinated follow up. I'm very sure. I believe anyway. He's not going to give his time for free. So am I right with that? Or you do
Yes,
give it
you're
for
100% right.
free? So to give us a leverage as a group, we will negotiate we talk with him on that. So you can come through that route and then talk to him, and then I believe he will grant us something on that, and we'll talk about that after the call. So he asked us at the beginning who we are. We explained to him what do we do. So we have another program next Saturday, and we hope we can all be part of it. Like I said, we usually have everyone on every Friday, but there is a monthly one on Saturday. Next Saturday, we call it brainstorming, where we all come together to brainstorm on what are the solutions to the challenges, what are challenges on ground, what are the solutions to it. We all share ideas, and we open it to before it was just among the presidents alone, but there is no caucus in this. As long as we are still here leading, there is no caucus among us. Everybody is more than welcome to be part of. Since we are even extending things to those in Nigeria, what happens to those who are in the UK? So you are more than happy. We are more than happy to have you. So at this junction, I want to say again thank you and have a lovely weekend and a fruitful week ahead.
Thank you,
Okay,
everyone.
thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Henry. Been a while. Hope you're fine.
May no be like say I no talk. Madam Debbie, good morning.
Hi, Debbie. Yeah, I'm fine. How are you guys?
Today was a serious program. I
Hey,
had to.
Ben. So now why you don't talk, Abi? You don't even say one word now.
Eh,
Wow.
this is when we are in means of serious things, you leave play
No
aside.
be checking. We agree. No be checking. No be Friday night. We agree. We don't agree. We don't agree.
Me, I know if I should open that place now, I might start cracking. And today is not cracking joke day. I have to comport myself. Only by my suit and tie.
No, Allah now. Thank you for joining.
Yeah. Good to see you again. I'll be good
Yeah.
to hear from you. I see you, Sha.
No.
How do they laugh me for?
Yes. Now why you don't go laugh?
When you wear suit and tie, let's see your suit and tie.
No,
If
me
you
no
go,
wear suit and tie. I know today program na suit and tie program.
if I
Person no
be,
dey play.
you go be your suit and tie will be pajamas. Let's see your suit and tie.
Suit and tie. May I go crack joke? Maybe say I go interview me for Global Talent. Maybe this guy takes me.
Bumi no get your time today.
She don't get that serious business now.
Serious day
Everybody
today.
dey find way now.
You don't make noise in front of your destiny helper. You stay calm because that man you see today might be the one to interview tomorrow.
Meanwhile, Ebe, you get something where I want to discuss with you. I go call you for phone, Sha.
No, I mean I did active.
No?
And quick one. There's actually, let me quickly crack tell you a story before I leave this call. There was an incident that happened in Sunderland there. So there was this lady that a guy just reached out to normally, like, how are you doing? Then the lady response was like, why do you want to know? Like, why are you interested? Can't you just mind your business? I'm telling you. Man, I saw the guy come pocket himself, say, no verse, that me pass my boundary. Long and short, the lady now entered problem for school. That she was on the verge of being deported. That she needed someone that could actually stand in for her in school. If not, and real lonely. Then everybody was not like, people that she spoke to was not like, now it fed her back to this same guy greeting her. On the time we, right? When the lady now finally met that guy, like, what she did was she just knelt down. She now said, I know this is what I need from me, I might not get it.
Sorry, I will stop recording before this joke becomes recorded.
I know you stop recording.
Now, that's why I didn't on mute. Because I know say me,